In this lecture, we're going to look at transactions in MySQL. A transaction is a group of SQL statements that represent a single unit of work. So all these statements should be completed successfully or the transaction will fail. For example, think of a bank transaction. When you transfer $10 from your account to your friend's account, $10 should be taken out of your account and deposited into your friend's account, right? So here we have two operations, and these two operations together represent a single unit of work. Either both these operations should complete successfully, or if the first operation succeeds, but the second operation fails, we need to roll back or revert the changes by the first operation. A database transaction is exactly the same. We use transactions in situations where we want to make multiple changes to the database, and we want all these changes to succeed or fail together as a single unit. Let's say we want to store an order with an item in our database. We need two SQL statements to store this order, right? What if we insert the order record, but our server crashes at the time we're going to insert the order item? We'll end up with an incomplete order, and our database will not be in a consistent state. We don't want that. That's where we use transactions. Now, these transactions have a few properties that you need to know. The first one is atomicity, and this means our transactions are like atoms. They're unbreakable. Each transaction is a single unit of work, no matter how many statements it contains. Either all the statements get executed successfully and the transaction is committed, or the transaction is rolled back and all the changes are undone. The second property of transactions is consistency. And that means with these transactions, our database will always remain in a consistent state. We won't end up with an order without an item. The third property of transactions is isolation. And that means these transactions are isolated or protected from each other if they try to modify the same data. So they cannot interfere with each other. If multiple transactions try to update the same data, the rows that are being affected get locked, so only one transaction at a time can update those rows. Other transactions have to wait for that transaction to complete. And the last property of transactions is durability, and that means once a transaction is committed, the changes made by the transaction are permanent. So if you have a power failure or a system crash, we're not going to lose the changes. We refer to these properties as ACID. In the next lecture, I'm going to show you how to create a transaction.